We're going to begin with that breaking news overnight. Another mass shooting in America, this time at a Walmart in Chesapeake, Virginia. Right now, we know at least 7 people, including the suspected shooter, are confirmed dead. Police say victims are being treated at multiple hospitals. Overnight, a spokesperson for the nearby Centera Norfolk General Hospital said that 5 patients are being treated there while investigators search for answers.
As far as the investigation, I mean, it's an all-hands-on-deck type situation at this point. You know, we have many of our investigators here, and we just, piece by piece.
We have full team coverage of this breaking news with NBC News terrorism contributor Jim Cavanaugh, but we're going to begin with NBC News reporter Julie Sirkin, who is live at the scene in Chesapeake. Julie, first of all, just tell us what's the latest on the ground there.
Yeah, Joe, good morning. Just about 9 hours ago, there were reports that there was a shooting in the Walmart in Chesapeake, the area that I'm in right now. Police have said that 6 people plus the shooter, make 7, are dead. The shooter, police do not know, or have not confirmed, rather, that whether he is an employee of the Walmart, but there are reports from people, from witnesses on the ground, that he perhaps was. NBC News has not confirmed that just yet, but we know very little. The police have been working overnight trying to secure the location. It's a very big Walmart. They're trying to make sure that nobody else was in there, nobody perhaps that was injured, still hiding and trying to get out. As far as we know, the police say they have secured the scene. There is no one, as far as we know, left in the building. So we're waiting to find out more information. But yet another mass shooting in America as people are waking up today, just the day before Thanksgiving.
Julie, we know the shooting was reported to police just after 10 o'clock last night. It looks like this is a store that was scheduled to close at 11 o'clock. Do we have any idea how many people were actually in the store at the time? I mean, what are you hearing from people who are at the scene?
Look, a lot of people were in there doing last-minute Thanksgiving shopping. As you can imagine, there were reports on social media. There was people live streaming from the store, people trying to run to get some last-minute items, some folks running to multiple stores to get pie crust, Thanksgiving turkeys, and they were out, so they went to this Walmart to try to get some of those basic items to celebrate with family and friends for the Thanksgiving holiday. But what they got instead were a series of gunshots as they heard them glaring out. Of course, the shooter, self-inflicted gunshot wound, as the police have confirmed, killing himself after shooting 6 victims. We do not know if they were all employees, if some of them were shopping at the store, but it's very clear that at the final hour that this Walmart was open, it had to have been busy with customers trying to do some last-minute shopping, of course, now scarred by what has happened in that store, Joe.
Of course, one of the main focuses of this investigation is going to be motive. I realize it's early, but are we learning anything at all about the suspect right now?
It's difficult to say. Like I said at the top, there's unconfirmed reports that perhaps the shooter was an employee at the store. Police have not confirmed that yet. Perhaps we will learn more as they continue to update the media this morning. But just up until a few hours ago, the police were still trying to secure the area. Like I mentioned, the store is massive, like most Walmarts in the country. So their number one priority was to make sure that they got everybody out. There are 5 people being treated at a nearby hospital that are injured by gunshot wounds, presumably, in addition to the 6 plus the shooter that were killed, of course. So this is a very active, developing situation, and one that has unfolded overnight, minute by minute, Joe.
All right, Julie Sirkin in Chesapeake, Virginia. Julie, thank you so much. Let's bring in NBC News law enforcement analyst Jim Cavanaugh. He is a retired ATF special agent in charge. Jim, good to have you with us this morning on a day we're waking up to yet another mass shooting in America. I mean, we've had these conversations on holidays, on days before holidays, on weekends and weekdays. Just what's going through your mind right now about what we've learned about this incident in the early hours?
Well, Joe, what stands out to me is that the suicide aspect of it, which we see oftentimes in these mass killings. The killer doesn't really have a plan past the event. They plan to die in the event. They don't have an escape plan. There is no escape plan. The event is their seminal act. This is probably what we're dealing with here, some version of suicide. And then we got to look at the targeting. Targeting goes a lot toward motive. We always looked at that to see why someone planted a bomb, why someone was a killer, a sniper, a spree killer. Who is he trying to kill? Who is he trying to get? If we look at like Buffalo, New York supermarket massacre recently, it was a hate crime. He's only targeting black Americans. We look at El Paso Walmart, it's a hate crime. He's only targeting Latino Americans. And those are both just, supermarkets and Walmarts. And this is a Walmart. So who was he targeting? Was it employees? Because if it was employees, then the motive may be revenge. So you may have a suicidal plan, suicide involved, and revenge, if all the victims are, or most of the victims are employees. If it's just a random attack on any person, any human, then it's a different aspect of the motive. It may be the power motive that encompasses these people that are obsessed with mass shootings and study mass killers. That's a different motive. Or did he only shoot black people or Latino people, then or Asian people? Then it goes to the hate motive. So we don't quite have our hand on the motive yet, but we do have a lot of agony and pain, and unfortunately an all too familiar scene where we turn our public places, from supermarkets to movie theaters to nightclubs, into just a hellscape, every few weeks in America.
Right. And it is so early that many of those questions you raised we don't have answers to yet. We should be clear. Police have not yet said exactly how the suspect died, so we hope to learn more about that as the day progresses. But we do know the suspect has died, according to authorities. So with that in mind, what is going to be the focus of the investigation right now this morning? What are the top priorities?
Well, they're going to have to be serving a search warrant on his home. And they might have already swept it, because the first thing you got to look at is, did he kill anybody at his house? Did he kill his significant other, parents, siblings, roommates? Sometimes a homicide precedes the mass killing. So you've got to go back and make sure that somebody wasn't killed first. You also have to make sure no bombs or booby traps were left. We've seen that in the mass killings. Aurora, Colorado movie theater mass killing is an example. The killer rigged up his apartment with explosives, knowing the police would go there before he did the mass killing. So often you have to go back and make sure there's no explosives, make sure there's no other victims. You have to do the same thing in any vehicle he might have left there. Of course, some of these guys have walked, some have taken a taxi. Some drive their car and leave it in the parking lot. If his car's in the parking lot, you're going to have to sweep that for bombs, and of course, then it turns into evidence. So there'll be a lot of work today and in the days ahead.
Jim, we don't know much yet about the police response to this tragedy, but real quickly here, walk us through how police are trained to respond to mass shootings like this in a public place like a Walmart. How do they try to minimize casualties?
Right, Joe. Well, we all think of SWAT, but it takes SWAT usually 20 or 40 minutes to get on the scene. And who does the responding is your police patrol officers, the officers patrolling our neighborhoods in their cars. And they have tactical rifles in their vehicles and shotguns and up-armored vests. So they'll get out, they'll throw up on that up-armored vest, they'll get their tactical rifle, they'll get 2 or 3 of them, and they'll go in there as quick as they can, trying to engage the killer. As more officers arrive, more officers enter. It's a very aggressive event. And it's usually over in 3 to 6 minutes.
All right, Jim Cavanaugh, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We always appreciate your expertise, even though it's hard to walk through these tragedies as they continue to happen. All right, as we continue to learn more about the shooting in Virginia, America is still trying to heal from the Saturday night attack on an LGBTQ nightclub in Colorado Springs. Now, the suspected shooter is set to virtually appear in court for the first time later today. They're facing a multitude of charges, including 5 counts of first-degree murder and 5 counts of bias-motivated crimes. Prosecutors have yet to say if federal hate crimes are going to be added to the list. NBC News correspondent Maura Barrett joins us now from the Club Q Memorial in Colorado Springs with the latest. Maura, good morning. So we're learning more about the suspected shooter, including their preferred pronouns. So what more can you tell us about that? What can we expect to see in court later today?
Yeah, good morning, Joan. Overnight, we're learning from court filings from the suspect's defense attorney that the suspect, Anderson Lee Aldrich, identifies as non-binary and prefers to use the pronouns they, them. Now, we had known that the suspect had changed their name when they were a teenager, but we hadn't had any information about their pronouns until now. And obviously, we don't know what that could mean in terms of any indications or planning around motive for this shooting. But we're also learning new information overnight. Our affiliate speaking with a neighbor of the suspect, the neighbor saying that they had become friends playing video games and over tech because they lived right across the hallway from each other. But the neighbors that he'd been interviewed by the FBI for hours, the neighbor saying that the suspect had talked about hate for the LGBTQ plus community before, and that he was, quote, not someone that he would bring his gay friends around. And so that is something that we'll definitely be monitoring. The suspect is expected to make his first appearance in court virtually today, where we should see charges introduced, those 5 counts of murder, those 5 counts of bias-motivated crime, potentially, as well as other charges, the district attorney said as well. So we'll be monitoring that. That happens later this morning here in Colorado Springs. Joe.
Meantime, Maura, we continue to hear from survivors as they're released from the hospital. What are some of the messages that we're hearing from them?
There is a lot of sadness still in the community, especially as survivors are being released from the hospital, recovering from their injuries. But there is still a lot of hope in the community and from those survivors as well. I want you to hear from Anthony and his husband, Jeremy. Anthony was in the club on Saturday night. He said he was about 20 feet away from the entrance when the shooter entered the building. And when he heard the shots fired, he just fell to the ground, ultimately got shot himself. He spoke outside the hospital yesterday and said that he only thought of his husband in that moment. I want you to hear from both men about what they've been experiencing.
The community is strong, and we will all get through this. I lost 2 of my dear friends in the shooting, and being in here, I could not go to any vigils. They took everything away as if they were trying to take my life as well.
If you love somebody, you have the right to hold their hand. You have the right to kiss them in public if you want to. And so I think the more we do that as individuals and we recognize that we're all human beings and we all stand together, that's really where the focus should be.
So as you heard there, clearly survivors still mourning while also speaking out against persistent homophobia that they say they felt in this community, Joe.
And those survivors dealing with the physical wounds, but also the mental wounds of what they experienced and also losing some of their friends. And all this comes as GLAAD releases new data on safety within the queer community. And these numbers are startling, reflecting fear among LGBTQ people days before this attack. So real quickly here, Maura, what are the biggest takeaways here?
These numbers are absolutely shocking, Joe. 72% of people who identify as transgender and 48% of the LGBTQ community in general fear for their personal safety. This obviously after we've been talking about the last year plus of those introduction of anti-trans bills across the country, the anti-LGBTQ hate rhetoric that we've seen from politicians. GLAAD is calling on those, quote, extremist politicians to tamp down on that messaging, as well as wanting to hold social media companies and right-wing media to stop spreading, quote, vile lies on their platforms that could further harm the queer community. Joe.
All right, Maura Barrett reporting from Colorado Springs. Thank you so much. We're going to be following both this story and the Walmart shooting in Virginia this morning and throughout the day, and we'll bring you the latest developments as we get them. Now to the holiday travel rush this morning. Millions of Americans are hitting the road to get to their Thanksgiving destinations. AAA expects this to be the 3rd busiest Thanksgiving travel period since they started tracking the numbers back in 2000. As for airports and airlines, they say they are ready to handle the rush. And good news, the weather is cooperating. We have you covered from the roads to the skies this morning. Meteorologist Michelle Grossman will have that much anticipated holiday forecast. NBC News correspondent Marissa Parra is keeping an eye on traffic. Let's start, though, with NBC News reporter Gary Grumbach at Reagan National Airport in Arlington, Virginia. So, Gary, what's it like where you are now? How are the airlines and the TSA agents handling the rush so far?
Hey, good morning, Joe. The Thanksgiving travel rush is officially on here at DCA. We're about 45 minutes away from what's expected to be the busiest period of the day, and things are looking quite smooth here. TSA lines aren't too long at the moment, but the folks traveling today are going to be some of the 4.5 million people that are expected to travel this week. Most of that number will be traveling around the country today, and it's a good stress test for an industry that has really seen bogged down with flight delays and cancellations throughout the spring and summer as a result of those pilot and staff shortages. And Pete Buttigieg, the transportation secretary, told our Lester Holt in a recent interview that he's very much aware of that, and he's been spending the fall working on those issues, including trying to get pilots paid more, trying to get them onboarded faster, and really trying to find ways to speed up the process once folks get to an airport. So we've talked to our friends at AAA. They give all the advice you would expect when it comes to travel. Get get here earlier than you think you need to. And the airport officials say make sure to check the garage availability if you're actually driving yourself, because this weekend they're expecting garages across the country at airports to fill up and to fill up fast. And my favorite piece of advice, Joe, is to pack your patience.
Very good advice as always, Gary. All right, Marissa, I want to bring you in here because as busy as the airports will be, I mean, Thanksgiving is still largely a road travel holiday. You're on I-95 in Maryland. How's the traffic there, and what kind of tips can you give people who maybe this morning are getting ready to hit the road?
Sure. So as far as the traffic right now, it's not bad. Things are flowing pretty smoothly. I'm just outside of the Maryland House. This is one of the most popular rest stops in the area. And I spoke to a few people. They said this is by design. They came out here this early because they wanted to beat the crowds. They wanted to beat the traffic. So they did a good job of that. Now, the thing is, you just mentioned 55 million travelers, whether it's planes, trains, automobiles, but the majority of them are on the road, 49 million of them. So be prepared to share your space with a whole lot of people, whether it's by plane or especially by roads. But again, we talked about those busy travel times. Well, this is not one of them, but we're getting close to when that's supposed to be. I have the numbers and the times for you right here. By road, the busiest times today from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. and then on Friday between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. That is probably one of the biggest tips that I can give you. But take a listen to our travel expert on some other tips for you.
My tip, whether you're driving or flying, leave as early as possible in the morning. Google Maps is great. You can actually plan and see historical traffic based on the time you're leaving, which can, greatly reduce the amount of time you spend in traffic. So do a little bit of planning beforehand on when you should leave to avoid major metro areas.
And Joe, that is such a good tip. I actually didn't know you could do that. So that's what I'm going to spend my time doing so that I can show you guys how to do it later. Back to you.
We're even educating the correspondents who are out covering the holiday travel as we prepare. Marissa Parra and Gary Grunbach. Thank you both. Appreciate it. Let's get a check now on the morning news now. Weather meteorologist Michelle Grossman is here. And my goodness, it just feels like a nice holiday. I don't want to jinx it, but I feel like it's good, right?
A little too good to be true, right? Like, I'm afraid to say it out loud. Yeah, really good today. We do have some changes coming, so we're going to pay later on in the week. But today looking really good. Look at satellite and radar. This is a rare sight on a normal day, let alone Thanksgiving Day, travel, Wednesday, busiest day of the travel season. And we're looking at some flurries in the Intermountain West. That's about it. We're also looking at some light rain in portions of eastern Texas and some showers also in Florida. We have a stationary front that's kind of draped across here. It's creeping up to portions of Georgia and also South Carolina, or could during the day. This is when things begin to change, though. This is Thanksgiving. Again, still not overly busy, but still we're seeing some more active weather. Snow showers still falling in the Rockies, looking good from the Pacific Northwest into the Southwest, but it's the middle of the country, the central and southern plains, where we start to see a little more active weather. We have an area of low pressure that's going to interact with this cold front moving through the Rockies. So we're looking at flood risk because we could see heavy rain at times. And as Joe mentioned, a lot of people driving, and especially to your dinner on Thanksgiving. So we could see some problems there. Otherwise, the Northeast looking really good. The Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, lots of sunshine. Temperatures not bad. 52 degrees in New York City, 64 in Raleigh. Down in Florida, we're looking at temperatures in the 80s. It should be dry, too, on Thanksgiving. Now, as we head towards Friday, I think we just heard that that's one of the busier days as well. We're looking at a really active day in some spots. But again, we're not talking about a huge storm. We're not talking about a severe weather outbreak. We're talking about nuisances, and that's going to slow us down. It's not going to stop traffic. But heavy snowfall in portions of New Mexico, also western Texas. Rain will still be falling in the central and southern plains, so Texas, Oklahoma, into portions of Louisiana, Arkansas, even to Missouri. But notice it stretches now into the Tennessee Valley, into the southeast, the mid-Atlantic. Those showers are now into portions of the northeast and could see some snow in northern New England. So we're going to start to introduce that wet weather Friday, Saturday, also Sunday. So as we look towards Saturday, we're looking at a big area of the east, looking at some rain, and some could be heavy. Again, where you see those darker colors, the yellows, the reds, the oranges, that's where we're looking at some heavier rain, the possibility of heavier rain. Sunny and crisp in northern New England, so we should be dry there. Flurries still falling in the Intermountain West and also the Rockies. That's going to be the theme over the next several days. And I didn't fast forward to Sunday, but we are going to see some wet weather in the mid-Atlantic. So if you're headed back on Sunday, getting back to work on Monday, we're going to be experiencing some slowdowns there. But as far as the airport impacts on Thanksgiving, not too bad. we're in the green for San Francisco, Los Angeles, Salt Lake City. Could see some slowdowns in Houston. Looking good on the East Coast as well, from Boston to Philadelphia, D.C., Atlanta, also Miami. We're all in the green there. Not too many slowdowns. And then as we head towards tomorrow, Friday, we're looking at those slowdowns once again in Dallas, also in Houston. Orlando, Miami, looking good in Boston and New York City. Philadelphia and D.C., we could see some slowdowns as well. So we do have some problems as we go throughout the next couple of days. But today, Joe, we are looking really, really good.
I like to see all that green. Green means go, right?
Yeah, 100%.
All right.
Check.
Thanks, Michelle.
Sure.
Appreciate it. In other news, the Supreme Court has rejected a plea from former President Trump to block the release of his personal tax records to House Democrats. That potentially paves the way for Democrats to obtain those records before the GOP takes back control of the House. For more on this, let's bring in NBC News Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delaney. And Ken, good morning to you. So this made its way to the Supreme Court after a federal appeals court last month denied Trump's request to have his tax records blocked from being accessed by House members. Why are Democrats looking to get this information? Why is Trump fighting this?
Good morning, Joe. Well, this goes back several years. The House Ways and Means Committee requested these tax returns under a specific law that allows them to review presidential tax returns. They said that they wanted to make sure that the IRS was auditing presidential tax returns correctly. And the House also said they wanted to examine these returns to see if Trump had any conflicts of interest or foreign sources of income. And there's a lot of interesting things they can learn. You know, the New York Times in a 2020 series obtained some of Donald Trump's tax information and found what they said was a pattern of what looked like potential tax fraud, deductions that didn't make any sense. And so it's essentially an oversight issue. And the law says that the IRS has to hand them over. The Trump administration certainly wasn't going to do that. But once Joe Biden took office, the Justice Department said, yes, we can give you the tax returns. Trump fought it in court. He lost all the way. And now he's lost in the Supreme Court. The high drama here, though, as you mentioned, is that the Democrats only have a few weeks left in power. So it remains to be seen how quickly they can get these returns and then what they can do with them, Joe.
I mean, yeah, Ken, this is an issue that goes way back. We know Democrats have been calling on Trump to release his tax records ever since he started running for office in 2016. So I guess the question is, what does happen now? How likely is it Democrats are going to get this before they're the minority in the new year?
I would say it's extremely likely, given that it's the Biden administration and the Justice Department has already said Congress is entitled to these tax returns. And then the question is what happens to the information? Presumably, once the Democrats get it, they keep it. They could have, even after they lose power, they could have their own hearings about these returns. There's very strict rules, though, about how they can share the information. So we shouldn't expect that this information will be made public. But it's also worth remembering that Donald Trump is the only presidential candidate in modern history not to have released his tax returns. And so there are major gaps in what we know about how Trump and his empire made its money, who it's doing business with, which the Democrats say is quite relevant for a person who was president and is now running for president again, Joe.
Ken, we know the Supreme Court right now has a 6-3 conservative majority, includes 3 justices that Trump appointed himself. Despite that, perhaps to his surprise, he hasn't fared well in some recent emergency appeals to the high court. Does this set an expectation for other hearings that Trump is facing when it comes to the variety of issues and investigations going on right now?
I'd say yes, Joe. There's a clear pattern here. This is the 3rd time that the Supreme Court has ruled against Donald Trump in a case where he was trying to shield his records from scrutiny. And, this is a Supreme Court that includes Justice Clarence Thomas, whose wife, as we know, Ginny Thomas, was involved in the Stop the Steal movement, was actively trying to help people overturn the election. Nonetheless, Thomas didn't dissent from this. So what I think this shows is that the Supreme Court is staying within the margins of the rule of law here as Donald Trump makes some rather extraordinary claims and Trump continues to lose, Joe.
Ken Delaney, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.